My name is Sharis Allen. I am 42. I reside here in Texas, and I am going to talk about being a survivor of domestic violence. As far as relationships is concerned, I did not have any positive role models. I grew up in a single parent home, so I didn't get the opportunity to have both mother and father. And nobody in my home was married except my grandmother, but she went through a DV situation as well that I wasn't aware of till I was older. And I watched my grandfather become so he died that way. So that's kind of all the relationship wise I've seen, and just a lot of cheating and not being faithful. So I really didn't get a chance to see really good positive role models in my life as growing up. The thoughts that I had as far as growing up with the cycles was something that I thought I could break. I did attempt to marry. I was married twice, and the cycles just, I dropped the ball every time. So it was just something like I couldn't understand, was it the person? But as time got older, I started noticing it was me that was causing the cycles to be dropped, and it was me causing the cycles not to break. So now that as I got older, as time passed, I'm learning how to not have those same cycles again. My first marriage, I experienced one situation of a DV situation. Growing up in church, you was just kind of taught to pray, let God deal with it, and it was more, I left it there, and I never experienced it again. And then my second marriage, time was good. The first 2 years of marriage we were doing fine, and a situation ended up where he came home and it led back to DV again, and I just kind of just left it like that because I just said maybe it's what I deserve. I grew up just thinking in both marriages this is what I deserve, because I just didn't understand it. I just thought maybe that's love, and love wasn't. That's just what I thought love was. My second marriage, I thought this was the right person. I thought this was the person that was going to bring me out of all the darkness that I experienced from being a child up to an adult. And going into the third year of marriage is when I started noticing red flags. There was that was brought in, and I engaged in it because that's what I was taught to do, like whatever, to keep the peace in the home. So I didn't really drink hardly, but then I started drinking. Then the came in, and I started using with that person, and it was just, I did everything I could to make things peaceful. And then it just happened one night that just went too far with that person. We were actually at a friend's house. I left early, and because I was ready to go home. I had been tired all day dealing with the boys, and so I came home. I went to bed, and he came home later. So later that night when he came home, I was asleep, and he woke me up, and I said, I'm tired. I said, what's wrong? And he said, nothing. And he reached over me, and when he leaned over me, I could smell on him. And I said, I think you need to shower and go lay down because you're reeking from. And I said, you at your max. I said, I've never seen you like that. And that night is when the fighting began. I called my mom immediately, and I said, Mom, he's what do I do? She said, well, let me talk to him. She ended up talking to him like, hey, leave her alone, just go shower, lay down. And he said, yes, ma'am. And that was the end of that call. And so my mom was like, if you need me, call me again, or you feel like you're threatened, call 911. I said, okay. He went and lay down for maybe 30 minutes on the couch, and before I knew it, he came in the room, and he threatened he wanted to have sex, and I wasn't in the mood. And I said that I'm not in the mood. I didn't want to. And he said, well, you're my wife. You're supposed to. You're supposed to. And I said, okay. I said, but if I'm not in the mood, like, who is it benefiting? That situation went, and it got too chaotic. It went from that to links are being passed because I'm fighting him to get off of me because I don't want to have sex. And that night just got real. It felt like a thriller movie I was watching. It just all the incidents happened so fast, and I fought him to keep him off of me. By that time, my kids wake up out of their sleep and they came in to try to stop the fighting, but by that time it was already too late because he ended up putting his hands on me to the point where I couldn't go to church the next day because my eye was swollen, and he passed out in the car asleep. I didn't call the police because me having a history of domestic violence or having a history of prostitution and stuff, like, the police is not going to really believe me. So I just kind of just left it to myself. I kept quiet about it for years, and then as time progressed, I started seeing my bad habits being in relationship with other men, and I felt like if they hit me, that was love. That's all I knew, and I didn't get the father figure that be around all the time. And the one I had, he it was not much he could do. My father was locked up. He was in prison. Before we were married and when I was in prostitution, I had to, because that was the only way I knew to survive. He knew about it. He knew that was the lifestyle I came out of. He knew that was the life I always had. And I'm not proud of it, but I had to do what I had to do to feed my children. Because at that time, I just had my oldest son. My youngest son moved with his father because I couldn't raise both of them by myself, so that's all I knew. That's the only way I could eat, or he could eat, or pay for rooms. I left that situation because I found out about infidelity. And he made a baby with another woman, and he left. And he left on the day of our wedding anniversary. I came home to get dressed to go out for our wedding anniversary. We had planned to go on a movie date and go out to eat for our wedding anniversary. And when I got home, he had already had his things in his vehicle packed, which I wasn't aware of until I happened to go in the closet to get my clothes. And that's when he told me. He said, "Well, I'll be back." And I said, "Okay." And he never came back. What happened next? I divorced him. It's been 7 years. I have no contact with that person. I would love to be in a relationship with someone. Now I'm at the point I don't know how. It's something I'm relearning. And maybe that day will happen for me, but I don't press or make a big deal or fuss about it. I'm coming out of unhealthy situations with friends and people that I thought loved me that really don't. It's just whatever they could benefit out of me. And it does cause you to come out. It does cause you to have cycles like that for the rest of your life if it's not broken or if it's not given any immediate attention. I'm 42 now, and I'm just learning to see that this is a pattern that I have, and I can't teach other young women to come out of it if I'm still dealing with it. And so now I'm in a place where I'm by myself now. My children two of my boys are grown now, living their lives. The biggest thing I had an issue with now is learning to love me. I didn't know what loving me was about. Loving me was hard. I went on the street for about a month. I didn't contact anybody. And I told myself it's just gonna be me and God. I said, "God, it's me and you." I needed that alone time to grow and learn to love me. And I think now I have this. I fixed myself up, not because a man, because I'm learning to love me. It took me to tell myself every day I'm beautiful. I didn't need that from a man. I felt like I was born that way. I felt like my worth, I didn't get to grow up to hear, "You did a good job." I grew up not hearing, wonderful job on your report card. I grew up not hearing none of that. I didn't grow up with, "I love you" in the home. If you said that, it was just kind of, everybody frowned up a little bit, or it made people scared. And I never could understand what was wrong with my family, why we just couldn't express that we loved each other. We would do anything for each other, but if you said the L word, it was just, that's too much, that's too deep. And I didn't grow up with that. But the letters that my dad would write me from prison, he would always share that with me, and I couldn't understand him. Like, why are he telling me something? He's where he's at. Like, what did you do to? Why are you telling me that? You can't physically love me from behind bars. You don't know how. And I never knew him till I got in my 30s. Is when I made the step to actually get to know him and reach out to him. And I think that was the best thing, that I got to see somebody that also gave birth to me. And I had to see him, but I didn't get to physically touch my father for 23 years. I didn't got to get no hug from him for 23 years. I didn't get to, the I love yous was on pen and paper. Anybody can write that and not really mean it. It didn't mean nothing. And the worth of, I just didn't grow up with it. I got robbed of my worth because a family member touched me when I was younger. I got robbed from that. So to tell me my worth, you can't tell me nothing. Somebody took my worth. I didn't get a chance to reconcile with that person. It was swept under the rug. And till this day, I don't speak on him. I'll just leave it there. If I could reconcile with that person, I will let that person know that I'm not mad at them. I do forgive them. Right now, what makes me smile and what makes me feel like I'm in a good place, God gave me 3 boys to love, and they love me. And yeah, I'm in a good place in my life at this moment because I'm able to share my weaknesses with people that can make you vulnerable. I'm, like I stated, I'm 42 years old. I'm just now speaking in my truth. I don't want nobody to wait that long. If you have the opportunity to do so now, do so. And I love that other people are responding. After my second domestic violence campaign, I had a few people respond to me to let me know, hey, I'm leaving my situation without even hesitation. They're leaving. They're not even thinking about it. They're just packing up and they're leaving and going and getting help. And it's just, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for telling us that, because we didn't know. You know, a lot of times people hide behind their smiles, and I grew up like that. So now that I get to be vulnerable to share that, it's helping somebody else.